My sister Bethany is 12 years older than me. She went to college when I was 6 and stayed in the same city after graduation. So naturally, we've never been close. After college, Bethany met a guy named Adam. Adam was constantly in trouble with the law and could never hold down a job. Against everyone's advice, Bethany stayed with Adam. Eventually, she married him because she said she had a thing for bad boys, and Adam made her feel edgy and exciting. Bethany and Adam have 4 children: my young niece, Amelia, toddler twin nephews, Jack and Nico, and youngest niece, Ray, younger toddler. Well, almost immediately after Ray was born, Adam was charged with a serious crime, and he will be, at minimum, spending the next 6 years in prison. My parents are in their 60s. They said it was easy to help when Ray and the twins were babies, but now that they're toddlers and can outrun them, forget it. Therefore, they're asking me to begin taking care of my nieces and nephews since I work from home. They said no one would be anywhere without family, and because I'm young, I need to give back and help my family now. I told my parents and Bethany that their plan wasn't even feasible. Working from home still means working. I have to speak with clients and be active in meetings. I can't constantly step away to keep an eye on the kids, especially not one as young as Ray. Plus, I'm 25. I still have college debt to pay back. Babysitting as a teenager does not mean I'm ready to become a parent to even 1 child, much less 4 children. I also reminded Bethany that she's never really been involved in my life other than attending the same occasional holiday parties. We may share DNA, but we're practically strangers. I acknowledge the situation with Adam is unfortunate, but he showed for years that he wouldn't be a stable partner. She was 30 when they had Amelia. She wasn't a naive teenager. She chose the excitement of being with a person like Adam, and she chose to deal with the consequences now. Her choices are not my responsibility. My parents told me that if I didn't step up, they were going to leave everything to Bethany and the kids when they passed, and that I would not receive any major financial help from them again. I told them to do whatever they wanted and repeated the same thing I did to Bethany about not being responsible for her life choices. I explained this situation to some friends. They agreed I wasn't an idiot for refusing to help with my nieces and nephews because it wasn't a feasible option anyway. But a few of my friends said I was an idiot for how I explained myself to Bethany and my parents, because no one gets married expecting to be a single parent. And what I said about Adam came off as victim blaming Bethany for her situation. 2 of these friends said that I could at least agree to look after them during my time off, since they're still my nieces and nephews. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Victim blaming? What exactly is Bethany the victim of? The victim of her own bad decisions? Get out of here. Your parents are also idiots for holding money or inheritance over your head. Your family sounds awful, quite frankly. If they're so concerned, they can pay for a babysitter or something. Also, you should give the number of the friends who said that you're victim blaming to your sis and tell them to expect to be called for babysitting help. Jesus, I wish my work from home job had been sitting around the house, being lazy for a paycheck. I worked harder for that job than I had for any in-office job. There'd be no way I could take care of my niece and nephew. If your parents want to disown you, so be it. Instead, tell them to use their inheritance to pay for childcare if they feel someone needs to step up. If there even is any inheritance, parents are 60. They could be around another 25 to 30 years. After that, the kids will be grown. I don't freaking understand why parents want their youngest child to sacrifice her life to raise her idiot sister's kids. Hopefully, OP just deletes their number at that point and continues to live her best life. This is why I would call the parents and Bethany's bluff and cut them off completely. They admit they have a favorite here by saying you will never receive any major financial help from them again. By saying that, They'll leave money to one child, but the other one has to provide labor to the other to earn an inheritance. Wow, darling, your parents suck. Once again, the kid who does well gets punished for it. My wife and I have lived in the same house for almost 6 years. We live in an older neighborhood with many mature trees. So every fall, there are a lot of leaves on the ground. We have a pretty big lot and a lot of trees, so it takes a lot of time and effort to clear all the leaves off of our yard. The first 4 years we lived here, we spent time every weekend for a month raking and clearing leaves because we have trees that drop their leaves at different times. It's not hard work, but it's time consuming. And last year I decided that we don't need to do that anymore. I researched the benefits of not raking and found that it creates animal habitat, provides nutrients to your lawn, and gasp, leaves are naturally and incredibly biodegradable. So we took the time we had previously spent raking leaves and took our family to apple orchards and pumpkin patches on the weekends instead. It was liberating. But neighbors on both sides of our house complained that leaves from our yard were blowing into their yards and creating more work for them. They both told me we should rake them up so they don't blow into their yards. I told them both that we aren't raking anymore, and they both think we're being jerks and disrespectful to them. We don't live in an HOA, and there's no city ordinance about forcing homeowners to rake leaves. It's purely an aesthetic thing. This past weekend, I was outside with my kids, and my 2 neighbors approached me, asking if we're planning on raking this year. I told them that no, we were not going to rake. I explained that we saved dozens of hours of time by not doing it, and that the leaves were all degraded and gone by the end of the winter anyway. So we're taking the natural approach again. They both got upset and complained that we were creating more work for them by not properly caring for our yard. We don't have fences separating our yards, so the leaves do move pretty freely between our properties. I told them that no one was forcing them to rake their leaves either, and they were free to let them biodegrade, just like we did. One of them got really angry with me and told me how much of a jerk I was about this. The other calmed him down a bit and offered that maybe they could help pitch in and hire a service to clear our yard so that it doesn't create any extra work for them or us. I told them I was not putting in any time, energy, or money towards clearing leaves from my property, and told them both to mind their own business and to leave us alone. No pun intended. They both think we're bad neighbors and disrespectful to the rest of them. But it was so freeing to wake up during fall weekends last year and look out at my leaf-covered lawn and realize that I don't have to do crap about it. Not the idiot. Litter's one thing, but these are leaves. No one will be hurt by you letting them decompose rather than raking them up. Your neighbor's feelings about that don't matter. They're free to put up a fence if they truly can't stand letting nature take its course. You're not obligated to do what they think you need to do. Congrats on finding more time for yourselves. You're doing nothing wrong. You are the idiot. Do you care about having a good relationship with your neighbors? You may be technically correct, but this does create more work for them if the leaves aren't contained in your yard. I'm also a fellow non-raker, by the way, but I mow them down so they actually break down and aren't blowing into other people's yards. Is this a hill worth dying on? I wouldn't ask my neighbors for favors or expect any help from them in the future if you think it is. Disagree. They can put up a fence or a barrier like people do for snow if they want to minimize leaves blowing in. The neighbors can also adjust their schedules to minimize the hours spent on gathering them. If leaves make them this unreasonably angry, they aren't decent neighbors to begin with. If finding extra leaves in my yard was my only concern with my neighbors, I would kiss the ground. My sister-in-law would trade her neighbors in for that in a heartbeat. I, 33 female, paid a visit to my in-laws with my wife, 30, and our kids, tween male and female. My in-laws live in the suburbs, and based on what I gathered from this trip and what I knew before, they have a close relationship with their neighbors. Understandably, after a while, Kids got a little bored. We have different activities available at home, but there was little for them to do here. I'm the more goofy mom, so they came to me asking for something to do. I thought we could get water guns and have a little battle in the backyard while there. After checking with my wife and mother-in-law, I got the water guns and started playing. You can see into the backyard from outside. A kind of middle-aged woman, I later found out was a neighbor and a friend of mother-in-law, told me I was setting a horrible example by teaching my kids it's okay to waste water with the crisis that the world is going through. She said I should be ashamed of myself, and parents like me are the reason that people end up wasting resources, etc. Before I could say anything, my daughter said that there was grass and plants all over the backyard, and we were actually watering them in the process. The lady was angry and said she wanted an apology for back-talking for my daughter. I was like, I'm sorry, but she has a point. She said something along the lines of, unbelievably rude, like mother, like daughter, and left. Was I an idiot here? Not the idiot. Good grief. The amount of water and water guns isn't going to matter in a drought. Your kid made a good counterpoint, and the neighbor couldn't accept that she'd been corrected by a child. Beautiful. Your daughter is one smart cookie. I'm willing to bet actual money that everyone living there wastes way more water every day than OP and her kids did. Everyone in that neighborhood washes their cars on their driveways and not their lawns because their precious green grass would get tire marks if they did that. No offense to people who do, just pointing out that there are more wasteful ways to waste water than water guns. That neighbor sounds like she has issues with things she can't control. You were polite enough, and no apology for back talk was necessary. Kudos for raising someone who will not be bullied. As you mentioned, someone interjected themselves into the use of the family's property, complained without a reasonable basis, and was put in their place by someone younger but clearly smarter. My sister was a single parent of 2 when she met her husband, a widowed father of 1. Her kids were a preschooler and a toddler when they met, and her husband's son was a preteen. They married after 8 months of being together. Her stepson did not accept my sister or her kids well. My sister told our parents and me her family was going through some growing pains and that her stepson might have an attitude for a while, but to please make him feel welcomed and loved. A couple of years after their marriage, my sister and her husband became foster parents. My sister's husband adopted older kids. Her stepson didn't want to be adopted and was angry about bringing more kids into the house. Things were messy. Her stepson was acting out a lot and finding many excuses not to be home. She'd say things like, he just needs time, or, oh, you know how boys can be. Finally, she and her husband put him in therapy when it got so bad that he was always staying in his room and locking the door. Honestly, my parents and I were concerned about their suitability to have vulnerable foster kids added into the mix, and we spoke to the caseworker. However, they were still considered better than nobody. They ended up adopting from foster care 3 times, 2 bio-siblings, a little girl with special needs, and a boy who was only a baby. They continued fostering alongside the adoptions. My sister's stepson is now a mid-teen. My sister and her husband have tried to give him more responsibilities within the family and get him to spend time with all the additional siblings for a chance to bond. A few weeks ago, he was asked to stay home with the kids for 40 minutes while his dad went to work, that my sister would be home then. Instead, he left once his dad was out of sight, and my sister got home to the other kids home alone. My sister was so upset and called her husband. He ended up taking the day off of work, and he found his son and dragged him home. They argued, and my sister tried talking to him, hoping he would say why. Instead, he ignores her or says he doesn't have to tell her anything, that she's not his mother, parent, or a family. It's been weeks of this. My sister is still upset. CPS was made aware of what happened by one of the foster kids, and nothing was done. They said it could happen in any family. My sister has been very upset about her stepson's unwillingness to discuss things with her. She told me she had tried multiple times to get him to open up to her, and he just won't, and how it's stressing her the heck out. I let her talk a few times and I offered her comfort, but now it's become a fixation, and I can't help but notice it's distracting her from the other kids. So the last time she brought it up, I told her she needed to give in and accept her stepson wasn't going to talk to her, and that she needed to leave that to her husband. She told me he's one of her kids, and she can't just leave it or accept it. Am I the idiot? That kid will be out of there at 18, and she'll still hope he will, one day, want to be a part of the blended and adopted family. You are not the idiot. This is just a whole mess of a situation. That poor kid. His dad and your sister keep making all these decisions, never considering the impact on him. 8 months? There was absolutely no reason they had to move that fast. They want one big happy family. They want the son to open up to her. They want the son to love their siblings. They wanted a house full of kids. They just assume every decision they make is best for everyone when it's only best for them. Now he just feels abandoned and powerless. First he lost his mom, and now his dad emotionally abandoned him in exchange for a long list of new kids. That kid shut down his emotions ages ago. Forcing him into family time only worsens it. Your sister needs to leave that poor kid alone. I have a teen daughter. I'm dating Laurel, who has 3 kids, female teen, male tween. When we first started dating, she didn't tell me she had 3 kids. That would have been a deal breaker for me. By the time I found out about her kids, I already had feelings for her. However, I had explained to her that I never had any intention of having more kids, and that I won't let our relationship affect my daughter's life. And by that I mean, even if we get married, she will be responsible for her own kids, and I'll be responsible for mine, because I can't afford to treat 3 more kids the same as my daughter. And she agreed. Now that we've moved in together, because of her financial issues, we had to, otherwise, she'd become homeless. Our problem started. I gave the guest room to her kids, but she thinks I should let her daughter share with my daughter. I said, absolutely not. My daughter hates sharing, and I won't force her. She thinks I'm an idiot, and that I should at least give the smallest room to my daughter and let the others share her room, which, again, I don't want to do. Am I the idiot for not changing the way things are? Edit. I can't just let my girlfriend of 8 years be homeless. I love her. It's not that simple. Now that we moved in together, because of her financial issues, we had to. Otherwise, she'd become homeless. Our problem started. Your problem started when you agreed to be in a serious relationship with a mom, but thought an agreement where you refused to treat your kids equitably was a good idea. Everyone's the idiot here, and this relationship isn't good for anyone involved. Holy crap, he just made an edit saying this is his girlfriend of 8 years. Whoa, 8 years? And he's made no effort at all to form a positive relationship with his girlfriend's children? And he can't bring himself to treat them with basic human respect. Her youngest child is now a tween. This means that child was just 3 when they started dating. How on earth did this situation stay so bad for so long? Jesus, that makes him so much worse. 8 years? For goodness sake. OP, you made it sound like this has all been landed on you in a short space of time, and it's a rush job, but you're talking about being distant with kids you've apparently known for half their lives. I take everything back I said. You're a huge idiot. 8 years means you're a mixed family, any way you look at it. The kids should be equal, and treating them as if they're not is going to screw them all up for life. Put your kids first. That's your one job. And you have 4 kids, by the way. You are the idiot. The idea that you can be in a relationship with someone with 3 kids for 8 years, but not have it affect you or your daughter's life is ridiculous. If you want to be with your girlfriend, That means dealing reasonably with her children. It's not optional. How would you feel if she cooked dinner for you and her kids, but refused to feed your daughter? Or did laundry for everyone but your daughter? Pick your priorities, and either you accept her and her kids as they are and treat them reasonably, or else you need to sort things out to end this relationship. I, male 55, just pulled the pin on my retirement. I put in 33 years of work, and I'm done. I bought property in South America 12 years ago and have been building our retirement home there. I have dual citizenship, so I can own property without it being a hassle. The house was designed perfectly for us. We have a pool, a small house for the caretaker/gardener, and 34 different fruit trees. The bathroom's up to North American standards, and the shower has grab bars and stuff already built in for when I'm old. Everything's on one level, so there are no stairs. My wife helped by making suggestions for the house's design and by decorating it. We've been vacationing there for 8 years and renting it out when we aren't there for some extra money. We've hosted friends and family there, both with us there and on their own. My wife has now decided that she doesn't want to live there for 7 months of the year. We have grandkids now, and she wants to be more involved in their lives. I love my kids and grandkids, and my parents, who also live up here, but I am done with winter. If I never see snow again, it'll be too soon. The house has guest rooms and flights are cheap. If they want to see me in the winter, they're all welcome to come down. Plus, I'll be back for 5 months in the summer to do some contract work. I'll see everyone then. My wife said she didn't want to go down this winter, and that's absolutely her right. I booked my flight for September, and she asked me about the expense on the credit card. I said I was leaving for the winter, like I had told everyone I was planning to do. That was when she said she didn't want to go this winter, meant she didn't want us to go this winter. I said that I was going, and I'd see her in the spring, unless she changed her mind and came down. Now she, my parents, and my kids are bugging me about leaving her alone for the winter. It's 100% her choice. Edit. She's known since we started dating 35 years ago that this was my plan. She went with me to purchase the land. She helped me work out the budget for the building. She bought all the furniture and decorations for the house. She planned the landscaping. Please explain to me how I could have better communicated to her that I was planning on retiring down there. OP, her priority changed. Yours stayed the same. Not the idiot. You can't force her to live there, but she can't force you to live where you don't like. This will be a problem for the rest of your life. She has grandbabies, and many grandparents don't want to miss out on the growth and fun of grandbabies. Married people make compromises for each other. There's a middle ground where they spend 3 of the worst winter months in the South together, and then OP heads back alone for a couple of weeks here and there throughout the year. People are allowed to change their minds about where they want to live long term. The wife isn't an idiot because she became more attached to her grandkids than she anticipated. Yeesh. Wait, did she know he was going to retire 11 years early? Are you even retired if you're still coming back to work 5 months a year? Also, buying a ticket to South America and not telling your wife until she sees it on a credit card statement is generally considered to be bad communication. My dad pulled this move with the same reasoning. Flights are cheap. Come visit. I haven't seen him in 6 years. He hasn't met his granddaughter. You're retired and have loads of free time. They don't. Expecting your family to spend what little free time they have carting their kids to South America so you can still be present in their lives is beyond selfish. If you're okay with choosing yourself over your family, then go for it. That's your prerogative. But in my opinion, it makes you the idiot. You chose to have a family. Now you're choosing to ditch them unless they spend the effort to come to you. Enjoy retirement. It might cost you your family. Yeah, things change, dude. 35 years ago, I bet you didn't think grandkids would anchor your wife, but here you are. My mom had planned a big move to Tennessee from Illinois. I bought a house and cars and moved all this stuff, ready to move in, until my daughter was born. Now she's selling the house in Tennessee, as she can't imagine living without being involved in her life. Hopefully, snowbirding won't crash your relationship. Best of luck. My youngest son, Ian, teen, and his boyfriend, Keith, teen, snuck out to a party Saturday night and apparently got pretty wasted. They managed to reach my oldest son, Joseph's, 20, apartment around 4 a.m. Instead of calling me or having Keith call his parents, he instead let them sleep it off at his house. And I didn't get a call till sometime around 10 that morning from Joseph's girlfriend to come pick them up. I was furious. After picking up the boys, giving them a good talking to, and dropping Keith off at his parents, I called Joseph and asked him why he didn't call Keith's parents or me the moment they showed up, or took them home himself. He tells me that it was better they slept it off there, and he had to go to work at 7 in the morning. I screamed at him that it wasn't his decision, and I'd been worried sick, waking up in the morning and not knowing where Ian was, and he should have called me or the other father. Joseph tried to get me to calm down and told me that this was what he was trying to avoid, me blowing up at Ian. This got me hot. I yelled at him that I couldn't care less what he was trying to avoid, that I was the dad, and that he should have called me because anything could have happened. He tried to apologize, and I just told him I'd talk to him later. Ian ran up to his room after we got home, but not before saying Joseph was just trying to protect him, and that I really went way overboard on him, calling him at work like that. Am I the idiot for screaming at my oldest because he didn't call me when his brothers showed up at his apartment at 4 in the morning? Parent to parent, you are the idiot. Your temper and anger have fostered fear and resentment in your kids. They don't trust you in those situations, and your oldest felt they needed to be protected from you. Your anger is most likely fear, masquerading as anger. Try being honest about how scared and fearful you were for the boys. Also, probably time to consider some therapy to help with your communication skills. OP's kids are so scared of him that they'd go to a great extent to avoid confrontation with them. OP's worry for kids should not translate to blatant yelling. Joseph didn't call because he didn't want to get his intoxicated brother to be sent to you for getting yelled at. He didn't call in the morning because he knew how you would react to this, and hence the girlfriend picked up the tab. And lo and behold, you did exactly what they thought you would do: scream. Hysterical anger is rarely the right way to respond to something that your kid has done, especially if it's something relatively normal or mundane, something that's a normal part of growing up. Kids do dumb things, and parents are there to teach them right from wrong and consequences of their actions. Your children don't feel comfortable coming to you. All you're teaching them is to avoid you at all cost. Also, you are the idiot for calling the oldest at work. Joseph is an adult and can make those decisions. It's his house. It's his decision. Your inability to keep your son in your home is your issue. I wouldn't be doing anything at 4 a.m. besides opening the door and finding a bucket. Grow up, dude. My wife is 34 weeks pregnant, and throughout this whole pregnancy, her two consistent cravings are fresh mango and strawberries. I always keep them stocked in the fridge because I know she will 100% get up in the middle of the night and go straight to the fridge looking for those items. The amount of joy she gets from these two pleasures is insane. She generally is good-natured anyhow, but seeing that I stock the fridge with these two snacks and showing how much I care makes her love me even more. Her words. My sister, 46, asked to stay with us for a few weeks because she and her husband were on the rocks and she had nowhere else to go. I asked my wife about it, and she said that it was fine as long as they were gone by the time she had the baby, which I agree with. I told my sister, and she said she would be gone before then. We weren't even charging her rent or anything. My only stipulation was that they buy all their own food because my wife and I tend to eat rather healthily, and it gets expensive quickly, so we can't cook meals together. She agreed to the terms. It didn't even take 3 days for my sister and my niece, tween, to eat every bit of fruit I had stocked in the fridge for my wife. The first time around, I told them simply to not touch the fruit. My sister apologized, and that was the end of it. However, a few more days go by, and I notice again that the fruit is gone. I asked my sister about it, and she said it must have been my niece, and she would speak to her. But yesterday, I came home after an appointment with my wife, ultrasound, and there's my sister, dipping the strawberries into a case of sugar and eating them while scrolling her phone. My wife immediately looked defeated and said, "I'm just going to go lay down." She looked extremely hurt. My sister says, "I only had 2, and tries defending her actions, and I tell her at this point that she needs to leave. She started scolding me. "You're kicking me and your niece out over fruit? Are you serious?" So I said yes, and told her she had an hour to get her stuff and leave. I'm being told by several people that I overreacted. My sister needed me during her hard time, and I proved that family means nothing over food. Am I the idiot? For context, she gets food stamps, so she has EBT to get her own fruit if she so chooses. She just never did. Not the idiot. You're not kicking her out over fruit. You're kicking her out because she has no respect for you, your wife, or your very reasonable and clearly stated boundaries. There are a few things I hate more than when people try to trivialize your reasonable boundaries with comments like that. It's not about the fruit. It's about the fact that you set one boundary and they willfully and repeatedly disrespected, disregarded, and violated it. I can see why your sister's having problems with her husband. She sounds incredibly immature, especially for being in her 40s. Those people that are saying you're overreacting, thank them for offering to take your sister in. Let it get awkward. Sister and niece have been caught twice before stealing food. This was the 3rd time. They did not reimburse OP for what they stole, nor did they replace what they stole. So time for some consequences. I, female 26, met my fiancé, male 26, in college, along with our 2 best friends. We'll call them John, male 26, and Holly, female 26. They've also been together since college, like me and my fiancé. So we've been inseparable since going on double dates and trips together, and have had a fantastic time post-college. My fiancé proposed to me last year, and it's all been very exciting. Wedding planning has been stressful and exciting. Holly's my bridesmaid, and John is my fiancé's best man. Our wedding is in February next year, and while planning last night, John came over to our house and said that he wanted to propose to Holly. Me and my fiancé were over the moon for him, and I was excited for another wedding. So I asked him when he planned to propose, and that we'd be down to help with the proposal and everything. He smiled and then said that he was thankful and said that he'd love to propose to Holly at our wedding. Before I said anything, he showed me a video of a bride giving her bridesmaid her bouquet instead of tossing it, and then the man proposing. He then said I'd love to do something like this. I was sort of speechless, as was my fiancé. He then asked us if that would be okay. I took a deep breath and said, "No, John, it wouldn't be okay. As much as I love you and Holly, and am more than happy that you guys are getting engaged, I don't want that done at my wedding, but I'd be more than happy to help you plan a separate event, and I think Holly wouldn't be too thrilled to get proposed to at someone else's wedding." Holly had told me before that she found people who got engaged at people's weddings tacky. I told him that, but he wouldn't budge. He got angry and said that we're being selfish by not allowing him this one small favor, and if the roles were reversed, he'd say okay in a heartbeat. I reiterated to him that Holly wouldn't want this, and she'd want her own event. He kept saying, "You're lying. You just don't want us to be engaged. You just want all the attention to yourselves." This is where I might feel like I'm an idiot. I blew up at him and called him tacky and cheap. I said our families are not shelling out thousands for you to propose at our wedding. It's embarrassing. You can propose to Holly even a day after, or the day before, or even the day of, but just not at my wedding or venue. Holly will cringe and find it embarrassing. He said he didn't think he'd been friends with such selfish people and rude people for all these years. My fiance reiterated everything I'd said, and then my fiance told him to leave, and he left. Now it's awkward. Holly has no idea what happened, and we all had a trip booked for next month, and now I don't want to go. I'm very upset with John, and he hasn't apologized. I don't know what to tell Holly. I don't want to lie to her, but I don't want to ruin the surprise of her possible proposal. Some of me feel bad, but I want to stick to my guns. Not the idiot. John's idea is tacky. You and your husband should be the only focus on your wedding day. Holly wouldn't even like it. There are literally no upsides to this. I understand he's bummed his first idea wasn't a hit, but he needs to get over it and return to the drawing board. If I were OP, I would find a way to bring up the subject of people who propose at other people's weddings when all four of them are together and ask Holly what she thinks of them and egg her on. Let John hear it for himself without saying anything about him proposing to Holly. Maybe then he'd listen. That has the possibility of a massive backfire. What if Holly doesn't see or says she doesn't see a problem with proposing at other people's weddings? What if Holly says positive things about that sort of proposal because she thinks that's what OP wants to hear at the moment? Only play this sort of game when you know for sure the outcome. OP doesn't want this, and that should be enough. My 22 female, girlfriend 22, was invited to a high school friend's 22 female wedding. The couple asked for cash wedding gifts only, so most guests would pay $200, while some could pay $100, 10 available spots. My girlfriend asked the bride if there was room for a +1, and the bride said she could bring me if I paid $200 for my attendance, not as a wedding gift. My girlfriend is upset with me because she went through the trouble of asking the bride if it was possible and thought I would be happy with this. I didn't ask for my girlfriend to do this. My girlfriend initially told me I was invited because she assumed she would get a +1, but I wasn't invited, and she felt bad about it. I don't blame her or the couple because weddings are expensive. It will cost the couple $200 per person for the wedding. The bride isn't happy with me because my girlfriend told her I wanted to attend and thought it was cheap of me only to back out now that I had to pay to attend. My girlfriend says there's no difference between being invited to a wedding and giving a $200 wedding gift like everyone else and being invited if I pay for my seat up front, especially since I would have given the same amount as a wedding gift if I was invited initially, and the end result would be the same. We give a total of $400. To me, it felt like an entrance fee that only I have to pay. Am I the idiot for not wanting to attend the wedding because I was asked to pay? Edit. She didn't get a +1 because the couple can't afford to have any +1s at their wedding. My girlfriend is also willing to pay the $200, but I'm not comfortable with that either because she doesn't have an income currently. The bride insists that my girlfriend goes because she previously decided not to attend. My girlfriend didn't want to go alone, especially since she'll have to crash at my place since it's far for her. The bride told her it was rude not to attend, so my girlfriend feels more obligated to go now. Not the idiot. I wouldn't go to a wedding where the gift amount was dictated. This is wild. Getting people to pay to attend your wedding and then demanding a cash gift? Wow. People are freaking outrageous and entitled. If you can't afford to get married, then don't. I'll be darned if I pay to attend a wedding. It's not a gift if you have to instruct me on what to give. What if their close relative couldn't afford to pay $100 or $200 to attend? So sorry, Grandma, but if you can't pay $100, you can't attend. Also, the bride is upset that you cheaped out. Are you sure they paid $200 a guest? Because it sounds like it might be $100, and she was hoping to score another $100 and is upset that you're not complying with her plan. Also, I feel like they would have absolutely expected a wedding gift from you as well, on top of the $200 attendance fee. You're not the one choosing to have an expensive wedding, where there are plenty of other options that don't break the bank, to the point you have to worry about money taken from your party guest. Why should a guest have to make up the cost of your wedding? As a female, I would never, and I find it gross. Also, most normal weddings always have a +1. Tell your girlfriend not to feel bad. Most men who personally don't know the bride and groom are only attending for the food and alcohol anyways. She can take you to a restaurant for a quarter of the price later.